Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about some of the Excel topics which are very helpful in cracking interviews. So the very first topic which we are going to discuss is absolute cell versus reference cell. So this is a very basic topic or a very primary topic which we need to understand. This is very helpful in writing all the formulas and functions and understanding how to write the formulas or functions. So the next second topic is conditional formatting. So we are going to see different ways of conditional formatting in Excel sheet. We will see what are the different types of conditional formatting Excel provides us. So the third topic is if functions. So if functions are usually used where we want to achieve complex aggregations or complex calculations. So let's say for example, so we need to do a sum of certain amount only if it reaches certain threshold value or it is within certain limits like a higher limit or a lower limit. So in those type of scenarios, if functions will be useful. So the fourth topics is pivot table. Pivot table is a very important topic when it comes to Excel world, and it's a very powerful tool where we can summarize a table within 1 or 2 minutes out of large data sets. So the very last topic which we are going to look is VLookup. So this formula is widely used in Excel where user want to extract or fetch the value from one sheet to another sheet or from one workbook to the another workbook, right? So let's head towards the first topic, absolute cell versus reference cell. So what is absolute cell versus a reference cell, right? So a reference cell is a cell which changes its reference as per the final cell, right? So if we move the final cell or wherever we are calculating the total or some aggregation and we move those cells, it's the formula will change its reference automatically based on those cells, right? So on the other hand, the absolute cell is the whose reference remains unchanged irrespective of other cells, right? Like even if we move the final cell or the total cell to any corner of the Excel sheet, the absolute cell will not change its reference, right? So we will try to understand this two terms by an example, right? So So here we have a sales table which has 5 columns, a product name, the sales made by the product, quantity, discount, and finally the profit made by the product, right? So I have calculated the total sales already, which will be helpful in our further later discussions, right? So, so to understand the reference cell concept, so we will try to achieve profit margin here. So as we all know, the formula for profit margin is a profit made by the product divided by the sales made by that particular product, right? Like if so, as you see, the profit margin made by the first product is around 16%, right? Like if we now if we want to calculate the profit margin for the second product, like we will try to drag it to the next cell. So now if you see here, the sec we have calculated the profit margin for the second product automatically. That means the formula has calculated its profit margin automatically. This is happening because the formula is changing its reference automatically, right? So if we double click on the first cell, right, like we will get to know the reference. We will get to know the cells which are used in this formula bar, right? Like it will show its references. Similarly, if we click on the second cell, as you see, the formula has changed its reference according to this final cell, right? So this is how a reference cell behaves in the Excel sheet, right? So now we will drag this formula to the end of the table and we will calculate the profit margin for all the products, right? So this is how a reference cell behaves when we use it in a formula or any function. Okay. So now we will try to understand what is absolute cell, right? So here I have created a separate column for this one, which will where we will calculate the sales percentage, right? So the formula for sales percentage is the sales made by that particular product divided by the total sales, right? So as you see, we have calculated the sales percentage for the first product, right? Now in a similar way as we did in the case of profit margin, we will drag this to the next cell and we will see what is the sales percentage made by the second product. Okay, so yeah, so we are getting some error here because as I explained earlier, like the formula will change its references automatically, right? Like if you see in the first cell, the reference for the numerator was this B2 cell, and the reference for the denominator was B11 cell, right? Like if you click on the second cell, as you see, it has changed the reference for the numerator. Along with that, it has changed its reference for denominator also, right? Like, and we are getting the error because of this, because we don't have any value in the cell ID B12. So in order to achieve this, what we will do is we will freeze the denominator, okay, and we will achieve this by placing the cursor between the cell ID of the denominator, and we will click Windows F4. So this will add a dollar symbol between the cell IDs for both the row reference and the column reference, right? And we'll press enter. Now if you try to drag to the next cell, so since we have freezed the denominator, the value fetched by the denominator will not move or will not change. Okay, only the numerator will change based on this final cell. Okay, so we will drag it to the end of the table, and as you see, we have calculated the sales percentage for all the tables, right? So if I click on the last cell, the very last cell, you see it has changed its reference for the numerator, but it has not changed its reference for the denominator. And this is because we have made this cell as an absolute cell. Okay, so this is the basic difference between the absolute cell and a reference cell.